what's next for our generation? To answer that question, it's probably easiest to look at Habakkuk. And you might not be too familiar with his old Jewish prophet, but I bet you felt like him a time or two in your life, especially recently. You see, Habakkuk lived in the days of Jeremiah in Judah, just before the Babylonians or the Chaldeans came down to Judah and took them captive in Babylon for 70 years. He was a man that begins this 3-chapter book that he wrote, questioning God, asking God, "How long, O Lord? Will I call for help and you will not hear? I cry out to you, violence, yet you do not save. Therefore the law is ignored and justice is never upheld." Now, does that sound familiar? Similar things are happening in our day. Habakkuk goes on, he says, "For the wicked surround the righteous, therefore justice comes out perverted." We see that all the time. We hear those cries. We feel those feelings in our heart. And God's answer to Habakkuk was interesting. In chapter 1, verse 5, God says, "Look among the nations, observe." So not just our nation, not just Judah, right? Habakkuk is focusing on him and what's happening in his nation. God tells him, don't just look at your nation, look at the nations. Look among the nations. Observe, be astonished, and wonder. So God is directing Habakkuk's attention to the greater plans of God. He's saying, look up and be in awe, be astonished, be full of wonder, because I am doing something in your days you would not believe if you were told. God was doing something in Habakkuk's day that he would not believe if he was told. But here's the interesting thing. God actually told him. So it wasn't a secret. It was just something that was so amazing, so astounding, so unbelievable that even when God told Habakkuk what he was going to do, God knew Habakkuk would have a hard time understanding, what was about to happen. And so God goes on and he begins to reveal some of the plan. And this is usually the part of the plan we focus on. He says, "For behold, I, God, am raising up the Chaldeans, that fierce and impetuous people who march through the earth to seize dwelling places which are not theirs. They are dreaded and feared." So in Habakkuk's day, there was a nation that was seeking to oppress and overcome and enslave other nations, seeking to dominate the landscape and bring bad things to the people who were their neighbors. And so what Habakkuk was experiencing, again, kind of looks like today. We see a global government that's beginning to arise and put its tentacles in the different nations of the earth. Right? They're seizing dwelling places which are not theirs. They're dreaded and feared. They're a fierce and impetuous people. They march through the earth and they do what they please. They change nations from the outside. They seek to dominate and oppress people. I mean, we see that in our own nation, in our own globe, in our own world. Remember what God told Habakkuk, lift up, look at the nations, observe, be astonished and wonder. And God said, I am raising up, but this is what I want you to notice and why I'm saying that this whole idea that God was raising up the Chaldeans in Habakkuk's day, or the Babylonians in Habakkuk's day, was really a very minor part of God's plan and wasn't the primary thing that God was showing Habakkuk. Because the very next verse in Habakkuk 1:7 says, yes, they're dreaded and feared, but their justice and authority originate with themselves. So God was using the Chaldeans, but he says very clearly that the justice and authority of the Chaldeans didn't come from me, didn't come from God. It originated in themselves. So they created their own authority. They walked in their own authority. They promoted and put forth their own brand of justice. It wasn't God's version of justice, and it didn't have God's authority. God used them, yes, but they were such a small, minor part in God's overall plan that he makes it known to Habakkuk, look, don't be afraid, because their justice and their authority doesn't originate with me. It's theirs. It's twisted. It's shallow. It's small. They play a bit part in what I'm about to do. And so then Habakkuk, in the start of the second chapter, stands and says, you know what, God, I'm not understanding something. He says, look, I'm going to stand. I'm not going to leave this wall of intercession. I'm going to stand before you. I will stand on the ramparts. I will stand my post. I will keep watch. And I'm going to wait to hear what you speak to me, because this is intriguing, Lord. You're using this nation that you say is impetuous and dreaded and feared and have their own brand of authority, but somehow they play a role in your plan. He says, I'm going to wait and hear how I will reply when I am reproved. And that word isn't strong. It doesn't mean rebuke, like as in Habakkuk is doing something wrong. It's really, Lord, I'm not seeing this. I'm not understanding what you see, and I don't really get what you're doing. But I want to see it. I want to see what you see. I want to hear what you hear. I want to know what you know. I want to be familiar with what you're about to unfold. So teach me, Lord, because I'm going to stand on this wall of intercession and I'm going to wait to hear what you tell me. And so the Lord answered. And he said, Habakkuk, get ready to write. Record the vision. Inscribe it on tablets, that the one who reads it may run. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. The vision hastens toward the goal. It will not fail. Another version says, in the end it will speak. It will not lie. It will be true. Though it tarries, wait for it will certainly come. It will not delay. What is this vision that Habakkuk is receiving? Is he just receiving another version of Jeremiah's prophecies about captivity for 70 years? No way. There's something far greater that God is revealing. Why? Because we're supposed to hasten toward the goal. It will not fail. Though it tarries, it will come. It will not fail. It will speak. You will see it with your own eyes. And it's awesome. God is giving Habakkuk an air of anticipation in this. Write it down so people can run. Not run to Babylon. Run the vision, run the plan, run the journey, run the race that God has given them. What is that? We see over in Habakkuk 2:14 exactly what vision God had Habakkuk write. He says this, for the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. That's the vision that God gave Habakkuk. He says, Habakkuk, look, I know in your day the Chaldeans are coming, the Babylonians are coming. I know they're an impetuous people and I'm using them. I get that. But they're not from me, as in the authority that they possess isn't mine. The justice that they dispense isn't mine. They do not have my heart, and they play a very small role in what I'm doing. So I want you to look to the nations, Habakkuk. I want you to look and be astounded, because I want you to write down the vision, and I want you to make it plain so people can run with the vision, because the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Now, this was a new plan. Some people say, okay, maybe it's the same one as in Numbers, because God said similar things in Numbers 14:20. But I want you to see very quickly that it's not the same plan. This is a new plan revealed to Habakkuk. It has some nuances that are different, and it was a different stage in the unfolding of God's end-time drama. Is drama for human history, however you want to describe it. Because look what God says in Numbers 14. In Numbers 14:21, he says, but indeed, as I, God, as I live, all the earth will be filled with the glory of the Lord. Notice the differences. That is an unlimited, no qualification, filling the earth with the glory of the Lord. Habakkuk was told that the earth would be filled as the waters cover the sea. But Habakkuk was also told that it wasn't the glory of the Lord that would fill the earth as the waters cover the sea. It was actually the knowledge of the glory of the Lord. So what you see here is two different phases. Habakkuk was given a new phase. He was certainly familiar with Numbers as a prophet. He was familiar with the things of Moses. He was familiar with the books and the promises of Israel through Moses. And so this was new. The earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. You see, this was something that God was revealing to Habakkuk. In Habakkuk's generation, they would experience 70 years of captivity, but that was a path to the greater things that God had. Filling the earth with the knowledge of the glory of God as the waters cover the sea, which was also a path to the fullness that God intended in Numbers, filling the earth with his glory. And so in Habakkuk 3, Habakkuk has his final prayer. And he starts out with this. He says in verse 2, Lord, I have heard the report. I've heard your plan. I now understand what you're doing, and I fear you. Not I'm afraid of you. I'm in awe. I'm in wonder, which is exactly what God told Habakkuk to do in the first place, right? Habakkuk 1:5. Look, Habakkuk, look among the nations, observe, be astonished, wonder. And so after God revealed the plan to Habakkuk, he says that very thing. Lord, I fear you. I'm in awe of you. I'm full of wonder. I'm amazed at what you're doing. And then he goes on, he says, Oh Lord, revive your work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make it known. You see, Habakkuk knew that for 70 years they would be in captivity. The plan that was revealed to Habakkuk would be for yet a future time. That's what God said, right? He says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. Habakkuk knew that his generation wasn't that appointed time, but he knew the plan. And he was writing the vision so we could run with it. And he's saying, Lord, revive your works. Lord, don't forget your promises. I know that these next few years are going to be a delay to the ultimate desire to fill the earth with the knowledge of the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. But Lord, don't forget in the midst of the years. Make it known. Revive your plan. And then he ends verse 2 with, in wrath, remember mercy. He's talking about in his day, Lord, when we go to Babylon, be merciful. In wrath, remember mercy. So Habakkuk understood this new plan of God. There was a new phase that was added. He knew that he was going into captivity in his generation, but he knew that a generation would arise where the earth would be filled with the knowledge of the glory of God. He knew it was some years off, but it was for an appointed time. And I'm telling you this, that time is now this time. You are now living in the generation that will see the earth filled with the knowledge of the glory of God. And our cry is that, Lord, revive your works in the midst of the years, in the midst of our generation. Revive the vision that you gave Habakkuk. Let us understand it. Make it known. Reveal it to your people that we might run, that we might hasten toward the goal, because it will not fail. Though it tarries, we will wait for it. It will certainly come. It will not delay. So what you're looking at is God beginning to remove the Chaldeans of our day, to remove the evil that has oppressed, to remove these fierce and impetuous people who march throughout the earth to seize dwelling places which are not theirs, because their justice and their authority does not originate from God. Now is the time when God is bringing forth justice through righteous rulers, through you who were created to rule by the King of Kings. It's our time, the time when God's glory, the knowledge of his glory will fill the earth as the waters cover the sea. You are living in a great day, and we need to be filled with wonder and awe because God is good and his mercy endures forever. And you shall see in your generation the knowledge of the glory of God fill the earth as the waters cover the sea. Get ready. Great days lie ahead. God bless.